welcome in everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Coast to Coast, and we have our normal characters here with us. How's it going, guys?
I am feeling fantastic and still have my voice, which is even better because there was some yelling going on last night.
No, there wasn't.
It was a lot of fun for me all the way around. I mean, if anybody was following me, they know that I got to hold the flag on the field, and
How was that?
a big flag. That was a big flag.
How was that experience?
Awesome. It really was. It really was a lot of fun. It was almost too quick. You know what I mean? It's just like, and I always make a bet with myself. Like I always kind of do like the mental bet on whether it's going to be an over or under for the national anthem, depending on who's singing it. This was the military, and there was nobody singing it. They just played it.
Oh, okay.
And it was an under by a lot. I mean, it was like and I was like, damn, they didn't even give me like a second to be out here for a minute.
Yeah, they're like,
is it something
let's go.
Is it something you would do again, or is that just something that you would only do once and just be like, I've done it?
I would definitely do it again. It was a tremendous amount of fun. I did this. This was more of a gift to a friend of mine.
Okay.
The guy I brought with me, his name is Sam. He's a real close friend of mine, and he spent 22 years in the Army, did 9 tours, between Iraq, Afghanistan, and other places. And, it was like on Military Appreciation Day, getting to hold the flag, it's, on in Lincoln Financial Field was awesome. It was just awesome. And that was really what it was for. And that's why I was bummed that there's like nobody's singing it and holding that last note or whatever and doing all those types of things. They had the eagle fly down, and the problem with, I think it's Liberty or whatever they call him or something like that. But anyways, the problem with the eagle flying down is that we are unable to do the shaking of the flag, like the waving of the flag, because the eagle don't like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they didn't want the eagle to fly away. And I was wondering, I'm like, I have a silver head. Is the eagle going to think me is, I mean, obviously it's a brown mitt. And those eagles, I think that eagle's only got one eye. But that one eye is better than both my eyes, your eyes, his eyes all together. So,
no doubt.
So I figured he probably know the difference between a glove and my head, but still was wondering, you know what I mean? I'm like, it's like, hey.
At the end of the day, it's a bird, right? So it might do what it wants.
Yeah, if he wants to just perch right here on the shoulder, go to town. I would have just stood there. You know what I mean? Enjoy life. That would have gotten on TV. You know what I mean?
There's no doubt.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a good game last night. It kind of went the way I expected it to. I thought that the first half was going to be tough. I thought that the Eagles would figure them out a little bit. And the truth of the matter is that the Eagles were driving all game long.
Mm-hmm.
They just couldn't get it in the end zone until the fourth quarter.
Or make a field goal.
Or make a field goal.
And of course,
which I guess we should address first. It's like might as well start with the negatives in this game. He definitely had the worst game of his career yesterday. I mean, he cost 7 points. The ones that he did make were
close. They were close.
And I'm not exactly sure what the problem was that he was having. But he was a little flustered by it. And it makes me wonder, it's like, listen, I mean, I know he kicks field goals all day in practice. And I know that he went out there and he was practicing and, at the halftime, and he was kicking them in just fine. You know what I mean? So it's like, what was changing between nobody there and then all of a sudden somebody there? Was he compensating because the way that they were rushing at him? Because Washington did load the side that he shaded to. Every miss that he made was that same side that they were loading the box on.
Well, and every one that he missed was the same direction. So it's not even like it was I missed one, let me overcompensate. Like he was missing that same side the entire way.
Right. Exactly. So and they were loading on that side of the line.
Oh, so he was kicking into the load.
Kind of a little bit. Like
Interesting. Okay.
so, and I don't know why. Like that's. Again, I'm not exactly sure what's happening with the kicker because I obviously not knowing kicking mechanics enough. To be able
Well,
to,
I mean,
but
the missing the 55 yarder, you're like, I mean, okay, you tried to drive it, it came off your foot weird, off it goes. I get that. Missing extra points, that one's kind of rough. And the other one he missed was like 43 or something, right?
41 yards, I thought it
Yes,
was
I mean,
44 yards.
very, very makeable. So it was, and even the ones he made, I mean, that extra point at the end that I thought they were going to go for 2 just because he'd been bad all day. That one barely snuck in. like had that been another 4 yards back, that was a miss also.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure what was going on with that. It was frustrating, obviously, leaving 7 points on the board. That changes the game to 33-18, which is a much higher score. You know what I mean?
Oh, so maybe he was helping Vegas out. He's like, we're not going to cover.
We still covered.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I thought it ended up as a push. So you did cover? Okay.
Well, no, it wasn't 8 points. I know it was like it went up to 4 and maybe 4.5. And I was like, I hope it don't go to 5. You know what I mean? Right. It's like if it goes to 5, that tells me something. So, but it was like 4.5, and I mean we won by 8, so it's definitely wasn't the issue
it was
there.
a good game.
Yeah, the second half was a good game. The first half was frustrating. A lot of drop balls, a lot of ugly football.
So it came out yesterday in the second half that Hurts had some bruised ribs. So it was like, okay, that answered some of the questions that I had. Was like he was having a hard time being accurate, like to Brown. Like he threw it to Brown, and Brown is like wide open. When I say wide open, he's got like a step or two on the.
He was wide.
Bounced it.
Yeah, because I mean, and it wasn't even close to him.
Right.
Because he had that outbreaking route, right, and he beats his guys no problem. Like he's got a couple steps. He's as wide open as you get in the NFL, and that ball was like 8 yards away from him. I mean, and it went into the sideline. So it's not even like he skipped it to him. Like not only was it short, but it was way off target also. Mm-hmm. And it's not like he needed to have bad mechanics, but he did. Because he kind of like almost half jumped through that thing.
Yeah, I watched the replay on that, and I'm like, he didn't have his feet set or anything. And there wasn't a reason on why he didn't.
Exactly. There was no one around him. The pocket was fine. He was rolling out to that side, and then for some reason decided to kind of leave his feet to throw a ball that obviously had no chance. It was very weird. Like, and there was elements of that all throughout the game. And, sitting there watching it, I'm just like, fuck is happening today? like both of these teams are playoff caliber teams, and you're making plays out here like you've never played football before.
Right. And I will say that, who was Washington's coach?
What's that?
For what? Who's their head coach?
Oh, Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn.
Who's their offensive coordinator?
Kingsbury.
Yeah.
So I feel like that they made some mistakes in the second half trying to drive the ball. Just that fourth down, going for it on fourth down. At that point, I felt like you should have put the points on the board. Like that was where I thought he was a little too aggressive. And then they didn't make that fourth down by like 3 yards. He rolled out and just he was gone. Like you could tell that play was over.
So the thing about that sequence that really didn't make sense, because I agree with you, they should have kicked the field goal there, is they were 2nd and 1 and didn't get it, and then 3rd and 1 and got moved back a yard. So now you're 4th and 2 off of back-to-back plays. You're blown off the line, and then it's a mishandled snap, and obviously it just falls apart from there. But like, it didn't make sense, especially because you guys had such a hard time actually putting up points. Take the 3 at that point.
Well, up until that point.
No,
because the moment that was the momentum changer, and then because that was when Barkley had his first run into the end zone, and then
well, but that's my point. Is it's like if I'm that coach got blown off the line twice, there's nothing that makes me think that a third try at that's going to be great because we moved backwards. Right. At that point, yeah, take the points because you guys haven't been able to punch it in the end zone. Obviously, you guys get that stop and then go straight down and score points. But up to that point, you guys hadn't been able to really do anything. So I thought it was very odd that they decided to go for it there in a easy field goal length also. So it's not even like it was, we're on the outer edge. Maybe it's kind of that dead zone where maybe you even take a delay a game to give your punter some room, or, it wasn't a decision-making spot. Like they were in an easy field goal range. I think it would have been like a 45-yarder or something.
Right.
So
it was just, and it was funny that the play call that they even made there, like that would have been, I would have thought the one play that they were doing pretty well was that they were doing tight ends. They were getting them out to the tight ends, that if you did a quick pass and within 3 seconds to the tight ends, that was open. And when he was doing that, they were moving down the field. They did that in the last drive to score that touchdown. It was tight end, tight end, tight end, tight end. They were getting it on both sides. And ultimately, that's how they scored the 2-point conversion and the touchdown with Zach Ertz. You know what I mean? It was just.
Well, it was funny because in the third quarter, where things just didn't really work out for them, they had like 3 different, 15 to 20-yard throws that hit guys in the hands for Washington, right? I mean, like square in the hands, easiest catch ever. And those guys were just like, no, not doing this.
Well, that was in the first half. I know that I thought that there was one egregious miss of 15 yards. I'm like, damn, they got lucky there a little bit.
That was a crossing route that was wide open.
Yeah, and then there was another one. It wasn't 15 yards, though. It was like a 5 yards, but he had space. It was like a running back, and he looked – his ball mechanics to try to catch that ball, his hand mechanics were just way out of whack. Like I was like,
he started to peek up field before he actually caught the ball. So he started to pull his hands, and then he did the like fumble.
The fumble brewski.
But if you want to talk about one player who changed the team. Like we talk about, is one player going to make the difference to win a championship?
Yep.
Saquon Barkley.
Exactly.
We still have to thank the Giants. I'm going to put,
you can send a Christmas card to Jeremy Shane up in New York.
Well, no, I was going to do it to the whole Mara family. I was going to like take a picture fake a picture of like my family, and we're going to leave a space where we have Saquon Barkley, where I'm going to superimpose in that and send that up here. It's like, thank you, Merry Christmas.
The fact that the Giants chose Daniel Jones over him in terms of like a long-term extension, and then basically let him pretty much go to the Eagles without even trying to counter to see if they could get him to stay there, is a fireable offense. Well, like he should have been fired on the spot that Saquon left for Philly.
You don't stay. Like if the money is the same and the organization you're with is like, yeah, just go try it and see what you can get elsewhere.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He didn't even like make an effort to be like, oh, we can give you more than Philly. It's just like, oh no,
it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have mattered.
Like a fireball.
If you're at your company, right, and say there's another job that wants you to go right for them, and the one you're at is like, yeah, we don't really care if you stay or go. Like this is you get paid what you get paid. You can check out a different contract. Maybe we'll try and match it.
Hey, and give us the last chance.
Exactly. But they're not going to try and keep you. That next place, are you going or are you staying at a place that you know doesn't give a shit about you? Yeah.
Especially a place where, I mean, he grew up
in Penn State area.
Eagles fan.
No, I mean, like it's they had no chance. The way that, plus, it's not like it was the first shot at that. They did it the year before.
That's what I'm
like,
saying.
yeah, we're not going to pay you. We're not going to pay you. Well, we'll give you some extra, guaranteed money, but basically still the minimum.
That's what I'm saying. It's a fireable offense for how that Giants GM handled that situation, where it's just like Daniel Jones has sucked dick for 5 years, but yeah, he's getting a long-term extension.
So that's probably why it happened.
Yeah. Like, Saquon carried that team his entire career that he was with the Giants. Yeah. He put that team on his back every single season. The only game that I give Daniel Jones credit for, oddly enough, was when they beat Minnesota in the playoffs. Because Daniel Jones actually had a really good playoff game against Minnesota. He had almost like 400 total yards of offense on his own that day. Like, he actually played very well against Minnesota in that playoff game. But outside of that, Saquon carried that Giants team for 5 or 6 years, but yet you felt that Daniel Jones was a more important piece to that team. That was basically a big FU to Saquon.
Well, I mean, they had to do something with Daniel Jones. Not that I think what they did was smart, obviously not. But at the same time, they didn't have another guy.
They could have franchised, though. They could have franchise tagged him for 2 years. That way they could have locked up Saquon.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't do it for 2 years. You do it for one. You're still kind of overpaying, but
at that point, though, you do it for 1 year. You get Saquon extended. It allows you to draft Malik Neighbors, and now if Daniel Jones were to walk after this year, then you still have Saquon in place. You have Malik Neighbors in place, and you have a lot of those weapons in place for whoever takes over for Daniel.
Yeah, well, but I mean, at the same time, it was such a dumpster fire of a year. Who knows how it would have went down? But I don't know. Like, anytime you have a quarterback that balls out on his contract year, and you don't have the draft pick, right? Because you played well, you made it to the playoffs, which means you're 20th at best in the first round, right? So it's just one of those. The player kind of has you over a barrel, right? Like, we watched Dak do it. We've watched Cousins do it. Like, it's just kind of one of those, if you have a really good year in a contract year, the team you're playing for is kind of hosed. So they're either paying you or they're setting themselves back. Now, obviously, signing Daniel Jones set him back anyway. But I mean, it's just kind of a weird, it's unfortunate for the team in that way.
Yeah.
You know what was even more unfortunate? That they had the hard knocks to show everybody. Because that's.
Do you guys ever watch Good Morning Football at all?
Sometimes.
Not a lot, but sometimes, yeah.
So they were talking about that yesterday, how they were like, they made their preseason predictions like for how the season was going to go back in August. And then they take a look at what they predicted in week 9, and then they'll look at it again in week 18. And they were asking, like, of all the picks that you made in August, which one are you the most proud of at this point that you're going to stand by? And which one are you the least proud about that you could take back? And everybody said they would take back the Jets, because a lot of people.
I was going to say Schrager had Jets in the Super Bowl.
But the other two said and I'm tying this into the Hard Knocks thing that Philly sports guy just said. The other one was the Chicago Bears. How half of the morning crew had like the Bears as being like that Cinderella playoff team kind of that comes out of nowhere, like kind of how the Packers did last year, where they came out of nowhere, ended up winning a playoff game, took the Niners all the way down to that final possession, and all of a sudden Kyle Brandt's like, that's the last time I'm ever watching Hard Knocks and picking a Hard Knocks team, because that program shows you the good of the team. It doesn't show you all the bad that goes into it.
I don't know why you would take a Hard Knocks team anyway, because they always target the worst teams in the league.
Yeah, they do. But when it came to, they did it 2 different ways, though. Like the Giants Hard Knocks version was just like the off season. So you saw like how that Saquon situation was handled, and you saw how much of a dumpster fire that was already happening. Versus,
so why did you think they were going to be a good team?
Well, versus the Bears, no. The people thought the Bears were going to be a good team because the Hard Knocks version of the Bears was actually during training camp. It wasn't actually during the offseason. So you saw like how the offense was looking in training camp. You saw like how Caleb Williams was looking in training camp, like how everything was looking. So all the people watching that version of Hard Knocks was like buying into the Caleb Williams hype. Oh, he looks great. The offense looks great. All this. And it's like, no, they really don't look that great.
Yep. And Rob, we did. That's what we opened the show with. Exactly. It's just for garbage teams. It's because none of the good teams want the distraction, right? Like they're trying to go win a ring. it's the garbage teams that are like, you know what, we need some extra TV time because we're going to get flexed out of every primetime game.
Has there ever been a team on Hard Knocks that's been good?
Not in the same year they were on it. Like the Lions, right? They were on it. They came on later that year, but early in the year they weren't good, right? They finished the year strong, beat Green Bay to keep them out of the playoffs, but they missed because of the Seahawks. And then the next year is when, the Lions really came to life, but they were on Hard Knocks that year.
For some reason, I thought the very first episode of Hard Knocks was actually a team that was good. I just can't remember who the first season.
The first two.
The Hard Knocks, they had rules. You couldn't have a top 5 pick, or you didn't win the Super Bowl. Like it was, I think if you made it to the Super Bowl, you also were exempt.
Yeah.
Everybody else was in play. I don't know how that. I didn't make any of those decisions. So.
Well, and then they started doing the in-season one. I mean, so now they've kind of moved it around a little bit. But even in the in-season one, it's bad teams. It was like the Colts and then the Cardinals, right?
So, but every team, not for nothing, every team has videographers all the time showing everything.
It would have been the 2001 Ravens.
Oh, okay. I mean, that was a good team.
That was the very first Hard Knocks was the 2001 Ravens, so that would have been right when they were winning that Super Bowl with like Ray Lewis and them with Brian Billick.
Yeah, well, the Super Bowl team was the year before though, right? It's 2000.
Yeah. But that was coming like off of that season. So like the very first season of Hard Knocks was the 2001 Baltimore Ravens. So that would actually have been a good team.
That makes sense because you're starting the series out. So I kind of get it.
And then you had the Rams in 2016 and 2020. The 2020 Rams would have been right around when they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots.
2020 was the year. That was in February. It was the 2019 season, though.
So yeah, the Rams were on Hard Knocks in 2020. So that would have been a good.
That would have been a good Rams team.
And then the Houston Texans of 2015 would have also been a good team.
But
so in 20 years, they had 3 good teams.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, I don't. Well, I'm looking at the rest of the teams that were on Hard Knocks. Like the Cowboys were on in 2002 and 2008. I don't know how the Cowboys were those seasons. The Chiefs were on. Chiefs were on Hard Knocks in 2007. I don't know how the Chiefs were in 2007.
I think the only program that got the Cowboys on a good year was Amazon's All or Nothing. Right, their All or Nothing was a good Cowboys team, but at the same time, it was aptly named All or Nothing, and that year was nothing. They still didn't win a ring.
I mean, the Jets were on Hard Knocks in 2010. That's when they would have went to the AFC title game with Rex Ryan, because that was when they made those multiple AFC championship games with Mark Sanchez. So I guess that team in a way that would have been good. And then Bengals of 2009, 2013, they were in the playoffs. So I mean, the early portions of the Hard Knocks actually had good teams. I think it was once you passed that 2010 mark is where you started to focus more on the bad teams.
Right. Yeah, I didn't think it was around that long either.
I didn't either. That's why I looked it up, because I'm like, that show couldn't have been around that long. But yeah, it started in 2001.
I would have never guessed that.
But then there was a big
10 years at best.
Well, there was a big gap though, so it was like 2001, 2002, and then the next time that show came back was 2007. So it was around for 2 years. Then they had like 5 years off, but it's been going consistently since 2007.
I mean, that even if you don't include the first 2 years, I wouldn't have guessed that.
No, I would have guessed like 2015, 2016 was when it was started, because that's kind of when they've really hyped it up in terms of advertising. But you got to remember, HBO Max is around now, so more people have access to like HBO programming. Before, when it was like a pay-per-view thing where you had to add it onto your cable package all the time, so not a lot of people probably paid too much attention to it.
Yeah, I mean, like I had no idea. I thought it was maybe a decade, right? So shout out to HBO for making a garbage program that nobody seemed to care about.
Well, yeah, but I would watch HBO for Game of Thrones and Sopranos.
No, exactly.
All those things. I wouldn't go to the HBO for football.
Well, there's a new version of Hard Knocks that's supposed to be coming out pretty soon, and it's called Hard Knocks In Season, the AFC North. So it's going to actually have the entire AFC North on that program. And then there's like a little disclaimer that says no team that has ever appeared on Hard Knocks has ever made it to the Super Bowl in the same season. Well, you're going to have the Ravens and Steelers on this program, so that could actually end depending on how one of those teams did in the playoffs.
Or they both lose and the Chiefs go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then you
I don't know when
then
this
they would
one
be like,
starts,
hey. So, but that just answered our question.
yeah.
There's no team that has been on Hard Knocks and made it to the Super Bowl.
In the same season, it's usually the year after they make it is when they go on, like in the earlier days.
Since Rob is in the chat here, that means that the fix is in, right? It's all scripted. KC's going.
I want to know when that version of Hard Knocks even starts, though, because I haven't even seen like anything advertised for the in-season portion of it.
I mean, the last time the in-season started was with the Cardinals, right? And that was like or maybe it was the Colts. It was one of the two.
It was the Colts. It was the Colts in like week 6. I think is when that.
Yeah, but so it would have been Arizona the second time, and so I think it was like week 11 or 12. So I mean, in theory, it should be
any time now with the AFC North.
Exactly.
See, Joe, I don't get your surprise team is Buffalo, but your real team stinks, so I can't.
I mean, I guess I can side with him.
Seriously.
I guess I can side with him a little bit on that because I don't think a lot of people expected Buffalo to be as good offensively as they've been this year without Stephon Diggs. Like once Diggs was sent to Houston, I think a lot of people thought Buffalo would struggle, but they've looked better this season without Diggs than they have with Diggs, which is kind of a surprise.
Well, we'll find out. They get to find out this Sunday.
They do, and I
mean, one of their big pieces is missing now too on Sunday. That was just announced because I had to make a fantasy change for it.
I think the bigger surprise of Buffalo is the fact that their defense didn't take as big of a drop as they looked like they should.
Yeah, and Dalton Kincaid is out now too against the Chiefs on Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to like him, but or I used to think he was a good tight end. I don't think that anymore.
He's not what people thought he would be. People thought he was going to be like an Antonio Gates, where he was going to be like your possession tight end and kind of your red zone guy. Dalton Kincaid's kind of like what Jermichael Finley was when he was in Green Bay, where he is your kind of stretch the field tight end, but then Josh Allen still has Dawson Knox, who he targets in the red zone. So Kincaid's more like, oh, he's going to be my big play tight end, but if you're not catching touchdowns, it really doesn't do Allen very much good. That's kind of
actually it hurts because he's not a good blocker.
Yeah, and that's kind of like I have him for fantasy just because I know he's going to get me consistently 8 to 10 points every week just because of the yards. But it's now I'm starting Gesicki over him because Gesicki's getting touchdowns.
Said like a true Cowboys fan.
Right, Joe. You gotta wait till next year to start with a we them boys thing. You just have to grind out this atrocious thing they're calling football this year.
Hey, it's like the Chicago Cubs next year. It's always next year.
That's right. Hey, well, and I don't know how you think you're going to be better next year.
Exactly.
I don't think
$250 million.
It'll be because McCarthy's gone. That's how they think they'll be better next year.
Yeah, but you're also probably going to be without Micah Parsons.
Maybe. I don't know. I think Micah Parsons is talking his way into staying. Like literally.
Somebody's going to be gone.
Wrapping his way. He's not.
Somebody's going to be gone on that team.
Yeah, I mean, that might be true.
Like, they are not going to be able to afford Dak, CeeDee Lamb, and Parsons. Somebody's going to have to.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, they're going to have to lose Parsons because everybody else is already signed. So, and you can't have 3 guys take up 75% of your cap.
Unless they move on from CeeDee Lamb.
I mean, but they'd still be eating part of his cap because there's no way that anybody's going to take all of.
No, they will still be eating part of his cap. But if you had to choose between those 3, obviously you're going to keep Dak Prescott because you literally just signed him and you don't have another option at quarterback.
Based on what they're doing, what they're choosing is to lose games. Yeah. That's what they're choosing.
And if you had to choose between CeeDee Lamb and Michael Parsons, I'm sure that most GMs would choose Michael Parsons just because he's a game-changing defender versus finding a receiver is a lot easier than finding a player like Parsons.
I agree. However, I don't think that they'll look at it like that.
No, I don't think they will either. But
I think that they'll look at it as that they need the offense more than they need the defense. You need to score the points. This is a score first league. Worry about stopping the score second. Like that's Who was it that told me like that? It sounds very funny. It sounds very funny when you say it like this, but uh, the offensive coordinator's job is to score as many points as possible.
Yep.
The defensive coordinator's job is to stop the scoring as much as possible. The head coach's job is to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Those are the three
Yeah.
reasons why you have those coaches. That's
I think
why
Andy Reid is the one that said that, because that's kind of how Kansas City was the first couple Super Bowls for Patrick Mahomes. It was the offense to go out there and score as many points as possible, and the defense would play that bend not break style of defense where they didn't care if you kicked field goals, they just weren't going to let you into the end zone.
right.
Now it's the opposite, where now it's the defense is not letting teams score at all because the offense is now struggling to score.
Yeah, and Brad, I agree with Kyle here. It's him and Henry, and that'll be a week to week thing. Like they're going to battle that out the whole way. Third place is not particularly close.
No, like when it comes to the Ravens too, though, I think what's gonna, like what Peg said earlier, I think Saquon has the nod because I think what's gonna hurt Derrick Henry's chances of getting Offensive Player of the Year is Lamar Jackson could theoretically have the best season in NFL history between quarterbacks this year. When all is said and done, if you look at the pace that he's on right now, he's on pace to rush for almost 1,300 yards as a quarterback. He's on pace to throw for 4,500 yards passing. And he's on pace to finish the year with 44 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Like if he gets anywhere close to all those numbers, that's going to go down as even a better season than when Peyton Manning threw 55 touchdowns, just because of what he does with his legs and how accurate he's been passing the football this year. And I think that's going to hurt Derrick Henry's chances because Lamar's going to get the unanimous MVP. It's not even going to be close.
Yeah, but that's not what they're talking about.
Yeah, Offensive Player of the Year. They're talking about Offensive Player of the Year, though, but there's been the year that Adrian Peterson won the MVP that year when he was a running back. He got the MVP and Offensive Player of the Year in the same year.
That's not even what he's talking about. He literally just said the best running back right now.
Oh, I thought they were still. I thought they were still talking about what Paige was talking about earlier with the Offensive Player of the Year thing too.
No. They were just talking about the best running back.
I don't think the difference with them though. I don't think you can compare the two though. That's the problem, because Derrick Henry is not like Saquon. Saquon's more of like the complete running back because you can use him in the passing game and the running game, so you can use him different ways than Derrick Henry. Where Derrick Henry's kind of your old school, just turn around and hand it to him 30 times a game, and he'll just keep pounding it down your throat. Like I think Barkley is a better overall.
I guess that depends on what it is you're deeming as the best running back. Then
yeah. I think Barkley's the most complete running back in the NFL right now, even more so than McCaffrey.
Well, McCaffrey is hurt right now, so still, I mean, I understand that he played, but he's still hurt.
But even if McCaffrey, that's what I said when I watched him on Sunday. He looks really slow compared to what he used to look like.
Speaking of slow, we have more bad calls from the amazing officiating.
Do we?
Yeah, it looks like it's underneath the helmet.
Yeah, that's the helmet opening. They should have left the flag down.
But they don't.
That's a face mask every time. You can't grab
every
any
time.
Helmet. Every time.
I want to know how they talked out of it.
Right? Because they came together.
Yeah.
3 times. It was like 2 minutes because they got together. And then they stopped. And then they got together, and then they stopped. And then they got together. At the 3rd time, we booed. And the 4th time, we really booed when they said, no, we're picking up the flag.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I feel like they could have looked up at the Jumbotron with that amount of time and saw that was a wicked face mask. I mean,
Not only that, but the roughing the passer call was nowhere near a roughing the passer call. He got there in a half a step after he threw the ball. He knocked him pretty good. He fell down. Ooh, sorry. You know what I mean? But it was like bang, bang. Oh, we're going to give it to you because we want to make this a 1-score game.
Well, it's same with that PI, right? Like he barely got the guy's jersey. He didn't slow him down. Like most of the time that doesn't get
Cooper
called.
DeJean's first call, pass interference. Like it was just like, You guys are losers. You guys are losers. You guys
Do you
are
think
just trying to help them out right now.
That's the thing. Is it really looked like the way that they were calling that game? It looked like they wanted Washington to win because the calls.
They
were
wanted
kind of
Washington to
one-sided.
make it closer.
Well, I mean, sure.
That's
But some of
really what
those
it was. I
games-
don't think it was a matter of making them win, but it was helping them to try to get down the field to make it a one-score game.
Yeah, it was just kind of I don't know. There was a lot to not like in that game.
Do you think, based on the officiating that we've seen across the board this year, do you think it's going to get to the point where they can start reviewing penalties like they do in the UFL?
It's going to be the egregious penalty. It's going to be the egregious call
Like
or
pass interference calls you can review, like face mask calls, roughing the pass. Like obviously not like holding calls or anything like that, but like pass interference, roughing the passer, and face mask. Do you think it's going to get to the point where you can review them?
I think you're going to wind up with the ref in the sky.
Which I think they should have had anyway, because it did work for the UFL. I mean, it is kind of a nice element, and they do have the the ref assist right at this point, so or call assist or whatever they're calling it. So I mean, I do like that because that's been able to correct some plays that were called wrong. Like Hurts's first down, right? He was called short, and the ref assist made it so that it was, a first down. You didn't have to use a challenge there. So,
right.
I mean, they're kind of moving that way. And so, I mean, ultimately, I think they do just because it makes sense.
Well, I have to imagine. So the problem is that they have to vote on this stuff. So somebody has got to say, hey, we're going to do this. And I don't know that that's going – the owners are going to vote on that to change that rule. I mean, it would seem to me like when you average it all out, sometimes you get bad calls against you, sometimes you get them for you.
No, of course.
And every team is that way. Yeah. And I got to imagine that they're not going to add this because it changes the way you can manipulate a game.
Could you see them adding it for the postseason only?
No,
because if they want someone to win, that's the time you need to do it.
Well, yeah.
At this point, I feel like the refs should come out of their own tunnel and, their announcer just be like, oh, yeah, introducing the refs brought to you by DraftKings. Like,
right. The truth of the matter is that you got all of these $1 million players and you got these refs that make like
$150K. I think they make $200K, something like that.
Yeah,
they make good money.
So like, and listen, an umpire, the one who's actually the ref who's actually calling the game, should absolutely. Those guys, there should be 16 of them, or 18, I guess, just in case one guy gets sick, maybe 20. You know what I mean? And that they make $2 million a year. And that they need to, and that they get bonuses. They should get bonused out.
Yeah, for making good call percentage.
Yeah,
correct.
And are they allowed to pick their own crew, or does the NFL do it for them?
So they do kind of let guys work together that work well together, but it's from what I understand, it's assembled by the NFL.
I was gonna say, like, if we're going on what Paige just said too, like if you're gonna pay like the 16 to 20 referees like $2 million a year or whatever, like the head ref or whatever, they should be allowed to pick the crew that they want to have, and that's the crew they work with all year. Like there should be no change.
I think the crew that they are put with are the crew that they do work with all year
long. The NFL, I think the NFL picks them and then kind of divvies it out. I think if you're going to get paid that $2 million to be like the head ref, you should have the pick of who you want to be on your crew, and then you kind of, like you said, then each ref gets bonuses based on correct call percentage, based on just how consistent you are. Just like in baseball, referee or umpires get picked to go in the World Series based on how consistent they are throughout the year.
You know what? This may be a time for me to reach back out to Dean. I have a group chat with Dean Blandino,
Oh,
And
okay.
the last time I asked for him to come on, he came right on. Now I
Nice.
understand that he's a little bit removed from the NFL now, but I'm sure he's probably being an analysis for probably CBS or somebody.
He's still in the NFL for like that on the Fox games because they still have him in the booth for like.
Okay, then that's where he's at. Then I
Yeah.
don't watch the games obviously, so
Yeah.
it's harder for me to say this. I'll get to
He's on
watch.
the his main job now is UFL. He's like the main UFL rules analyst expert, but he's still on like the Fox game of the week with Tom Brady and what's his nuts I thought Burkhardt.
Oh, okay.
Whoever with
Yeah.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, but Blandino still does the NFL on Fox, but he's primary now. Like he's the main UFL referee now because he was very involved with when they were making all the rule changes with the XFL and when the USFL combined. He was very
Did
involved.
the UFL even finish? They didn't even finish.
They finished. The Birmingham Stallions won again, so that's
Yeah.
3-3 now for them.
Well,
Shows how
no,
many.
it's 1-0 because it's a new league.
Well, yeah, but that's 3-3 with them since they came into like.
Well, but they took all the best players from every team that didn't take, and they made like an all-star team with that. Like
Yeah.
I know that they had like 3 players from the Stars.
They had, I think they had the 4 best quarterbacks in the UFL just on one team, and then they had like the 2 best running backs. They had the best receiver. They had. He's not even the best coach, but he's got that team running at like a Kansas City Chiefs level right now, where they're the favorites every year going in, and they're going to be favorites again.
Sorry, the chat's ridiculous. I'm just
because the quarterback that the Stallions picked up for this year should have been drafted in the NFL, but he went undrafted, and he's probably going to light up the UFL next year.
Good.
They got that Sam Hartman from Wake Forest, and then he played his final year at Notre Dame.
So since you were talking about MVPs earlier, they were chatting a little bit about Jared Goff and where he lands in this now that he threw this 5-pick game. And so here's the soundbite of that. I tend to agree with Orlovsky here, but Stephen A. still believes in him. I don't know.
He hurt Jared Goff, no question about it. But he was so exceptional leading up to last week. If he comes back and he's exceptional over another 6-game stretch as the season goes on, I think he can overcome what happened this past weekend. But 5 interceptions in one game is definitely damaging to an MVP's hope, an aspiring MVP's hopes.
That's a ridiculous thing to say. So first of all, he's so exceptional,
What's
but
ridiculous?
still was so exceptional. Still wasn't the MVP. It was Lamar. Okay, I love Jared Goff. No one's championed Jared Goff more. His MVP case is over. You don't throw 5 interceptions in primetime television and still be in that.
I mean, I can't.
And Kyle, he actually was exceptional. He went 4 games without an incompletion in the first half. He had an entire game without one at all.
Well, and going on what you just said, he went 4 games where he had more touchdown passes than incompletions.
No, exactly.
That's something that's never been done really in, I think, since like the 50s or 60s.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was absolutely wild. So I get that he wouldn't have been the sexy pick anyway, right? Like, he was never going to win.
He would have been in the top 5.
He could have put up the best numbers ever. He was never going to win because of the year that Lamar is having. And so, I mean, it was just never going to happen because this is a voting game. And Goff, although super efficient, isn't exactly a fun watch, right? Like, there's nothing electric about it. He's just very good at what he does.
Well,
and so
it's the Lions' offense, though, too.
Well, here's how you know that the MVP is such a ridiculous thing. Hey,
Joe, if your grandmother had wheels, she'd be a bike.
That's right. Which is also a funny clip. But Mahomes is in that conversation and shouldn't be. But because it's Mahomes and people just like to, they want to vote for who they want to vote for. Yeah. It has nothing to do with what the actual stats say. Mahomes will be ahead of Goff in this conversation, despite the fact he's having one of the worst years of his career.
Well, and it's funny because I used Goff as the butt of my interview joke yesterday when I was interviewing. I did a quick little video with Trey Burton, who is best known for being the quarterback of the Philly special, where he was the one who threw the pass. So my video started out with, it is the guy who's got more touchdown passes in the Super Bowl than Jared Goff.
Yep.
So,
the thing is, too, like this year, like Joe Burrow's having an MVP caliber season. Josh Allen is having an MVP caliber season, but because Lamar Jackson is doing what he's doing this year, both of those seasons are going to go to waste because they could just put up the best numbers of their career this year, and Lamar's going to be unanimous just because of what he's doing.
I mean, I guess it depends on if it goes to waste because, I mean, there's this chance that Lamar wins another MVP and the Bills go to the Super Bowl. So,
well, yeah, in that aspect, but I'm just saying.
Or worse yet, they lose to the Chiefs again.
Yeah, I'm not in that aspect, yes, but like you look at the numbers that Burrow's putting up this year, you look at the numbers that Josh Allen's putting up, and both of them are having the best seasons of their career. Same thing with Lamar this year, but nobody's really talking about the year that Joe Burrow's having. Nobody's really talking about the year that Josh Allen's having just because Lamar is doing what Lamar is doing. That's kind of what I mean.
People are talking about Josh Allen's year. They're not talking about Burrow's because
the team's not winning.
The first couple weeks pretty much derailed any MVP talk because he wasn't playing well and the team is hot trash. So the fact that he can't string together a full season of playing well is what hurts him as far as getting an MVP. People are talking about Josh Allen as an option.
And I mean, Burrow leads the NFL in every passing category.
Patrick Mahomes is not even in the talk, Joe. Not even in the conversation. Having probably one of the worst years of his career.
And yet somehow he's going to get votes.
Yeah.
Like that's what's so dumb about the MVP race. They're like, oh, he's going to get it. It's like, yeah, but he shouldn't.
Not even a chance.
If Lamar doesn't get it, something's wrong. And if Lamar is...
he's having a better year than last year when he won it.
But I'm just saying, like, if he doesn't even get unanimous this year, that's just people just wanting to throw votes for somebody else.
Well, but that's my point. That's my whole point. Is it's a voting game. So Goff was never going to win it. He could have been amazing all year. It doesn't matter because he doesn't use his legs to go do stuff, and that is what people vote for now. They want flashy throws and a guy that can run. That's your MVP. So a traditional quarterback probably not going to win unless he sets the all-time season, passing record, touchdown record. Like that's the only way that guy's winning it at this point.
And then Rich Eisen had an interesting question this morning. I didn't check the poll question though, but given what Lamar is doing this year, would you put him ahead of Patrick Mahomes as the best quarterback in the NFL right now? And if you had to win one game, would you still pick Mahomes over Lamar, or would you go Lamar over Mahomes?
So those are two wildly different things.
He both put them in like the same poll question because he wanted to see like how many people would say Lamar Jackson is ahead of Mahomes right now.
So over the course of a season this year, Lamar is clearly having a better year, right? So you could make the argument that right now, today, Lamar is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. Situationally, if I need to win a playoff game, I'm going to lean towards a guy that I've watched win playoff games. So you can't ask those same questions next to each other.
Your answer is exactly what the poll question related. So 79% said Lamar Jackson is the better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes right now, which I'm surprised it was that much of a landslide. Like 79%. Well, no,
it's because Mahomes is having the worst year of his career. Yeah. So if you're talking about this year in limited to this year, then yeah, Lamar is he's clearly the better guy. But if you're talking situationally, I'm not taking that was situationally in the playoffs. I'm just not.
And that's how the poll reacted too. So 79% said Lamar is the better quarterback than Mahomes, but 76% said if I had to win one game, I'm taking Mahomes. So it was literally pretty much the exact flip. And then Rich Eisen's like, so in that case, which I didn't agree with him, he's like, well, if you're still taking Mahomes to win one game over Lamar Jackson, Rich Eisen's like, I still put Mahomes ahead of Jackson then as the better quarterback because ultimately your goal is to win in the playoffs. And until Mahomes shows that he cannot win in the playoffs, you still got to put him ahead of Lamar Jackson as the best quarterback.
Yeah, but this isn't a new conversation. We had this conversation before when it was Manning and Brady. people would be like, yeah, Peyton Manning's the better quarterback all year. When you need a fourth quarter comeback or to win in the playoffs, you're taking Brady 10 out of 10 times. So, I mean, this isn't new. It's just different names on the sheet.
Just two different styles, which is what I think the argument comes into play, because at least Brady and Manning were the same type of quarterback. They were both pocket passers. Neither one of them was going to run unless they absolutely had to.
Yeah, but the outcome's the same.
Yeah, now it's like you have two literally drastically different style quarterbacks.
So to transition away from football for 2 seconds, because this fight is happening tonight, and is anybody actually interested in Jake Paul winning this?
Oh, no,
because I want to see Tyson beat the brakes off him, and at least we get to watch the first smack, which, again, I hope he smacks the shit out of him. So here we go. So it looks like Jake Paul actually steps on his foot when he jumps on the stage, and that's what got Tyson riled up. But at the same time, I want to watch a lot of this of Tyson mashing him in the face a little bit.
Well, I saw that video before you just posted that one, and it shows an interview of Tyson saying that my feet are really bad. If somebody steps on my feet, I mean, it's painful, it hurts, and you know. So that was kind of the response. Like he stepped on his foot. He's like, bam.
And both boxers have been suspended also.
What do you mean?
So because Tyson punched him or slapped him, whatever you want to call that, Jake Paul stepped on Tyson's foot. After this fight is over, they're both being suspended.
For how long?
Who cares?
I don't know how long they're being suspended. That's why there was a lot of debate yesterday, even like last night, saying that this fight might not even happen.
So here's the thing: who cares if they're suspended? Because Tyson,
it's a sanctioned bout now.
No.
That's the problem.
I understand, but how many fights is Tyson going to do moving forward anyway?
Well, no, that's where the debate came in, because this happened before the fight. Some people said this fight might not even go on anymore because they were trying to get him suspended before this fight. Because part of the rule is you're not allowed to touch your opponent in the weigh-in or whatever.
That's never going to happen. Even if they take the sanctioning away from it, this fight's going to go down. Netflix isn't going to lose the money on this day of. There's just no chance. They're not gonna lose everything they have into this because of a technical.
No, in fact, I feel like they just got another 20 million watchers.
That's exactly right. Exactly. So whether this goes down as a sanctioned fight or not, the fight's happening.
Exactly correct. And I probably am going to watch it. I to be honest, I could care less who wins or loses. It's my expectation is that Jake Paul is going to win, and the reason why he's going to win is because how you going to have him be able to do another one.
Exactly.
It's like if he loses, it's not going to be Mike Tyson's punch out. You know what I mean? This is. Yeah. Which is really what it should be. That should have been what it's called anyways. Mike Tyson should have thought of this a long time ago and called it Mike Tyson's punch out. You know what I mean?
And all things being equal, Jake Paul does look like Glass Jaw Joe. So
Glass Joe, yeah, exactly. I think it's going to go 2 rounds. I think it's going to.
Well, so it might go longer because they're shorter rounds. So they're only 2-minute rounds and they're lighter gloves. So they're not doing full weight gloves and they're shorter rounds.
I think that's why.
No. Lighter gloves or heavier gloves?
Lighter gloves.
They're lighter gloves. They're 14-ounce gloves.
Yeah, that goes against Jake Paul there.
I think it might be quicker because of that reason. Because I think Mike Tyson might just tee off on him, knowing that it's a shorter round. He might just try to go 100% max effort just right away. Lighter gloves just start teeing off on him right away.
Yeah, but you have less behind it, right? Because they're lighter. Right. So
no, you get more behind it.
So you get more speed, but it's got less weight, is all I'm saying. So
no, I feel like that's wrong because when you got that, now there's less cushion for you to feel the pain. I mean, I don't know. It's been a while since I boxed.
Necessarily, but yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna watch it. I'm going to go to, our local sports bar and enjoy it that way. I also think Jake Paul wins, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just, you're again, not fighting somebody that's an active boxer, right? So like he's gone up against, retired MMA guys, or, he's never actually getting any boxers that are like primetime boxers. So, and this is again, right? You're like, oh yeah, I'm going to fight an actual boxer. It's like, 30 years out of his prime. Like what are we talking about right now? So my hope is that Tyson beats the brakes off him, but I mean, the odds are low, right? Because dude's 60.
I don't know.
Like he beat me up, but I'm not training to be a boxer.
True. I don't know. I think this kind of reminds me very similar to the last Rocky.
Well, and that's what I'm hoping for, is that he comes out one last time, makes a splash play, knocks this dude out. But that being said, we're right here at the end of the show anyway. If you've been watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Enjoy the fights tonight and football this weekend. Other than that, we'll see you all Monday morning.
Later, guys.
Good weekend.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows, giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on